So we begin with the bridge between worlds.
I grew up with this whole excitement to explore this world that's beyond the material world.
In spiritual healing and transformation.
It's really, really small, but there's got to be something beyond this. And then in one of my journeys, suddenly I came across this mantra, Aham Brahmasmi, which simply meant that I am the creator of my reality. I really understood one thing, that if I wanted to explore this world of spirituality and the soul, then I had to explore the quantum world, because the quantum physics is the physics of the unseen reality. This entire question that where does my soul go after I die? When I'm not my body, who am I?
Science meets spirit.
Latest theories like the theory of entanglement, they have evidence that says that it is the human thought or the human consciousness that's the only thing that travels 2 times speed of light. In fact, I've mentioned this very clearly in my book, Om is equal to MC square. I'm chanting Om, but the frequency of that is a lot of sadness, a lot of unforgiveness.
How? Everything is a process. You have to be ready, be it meditating. You have to be guided through it.
This is where a guru helps you.
I would say that what would be lovely is, a lot of people don't know.
The darkness came from the light, from that dark matter. We are born as a human being. You've been every other thing that exists on the planet.
I could have been a rock, a mountain.
Now the human body is made up of earth.
Could you explain quantum physics principles to someone experiencing emotional trauma?
So we are the 5 tattvas. Do you know the human DNA? We came here with the highest amount of intelligence and creativity.
Do animals have egos?
All of the problems that are happening today between human beings and relationships is nothing but the byproduct of the wounded, unhealthy ego.
You speak of IQ, PQ, EQ and SQ. Today on the Creativity Dialogues, I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Ramon Llamba, a transformational coach and one of India's leading voices on emotional well-being and conscious living. With a rare blend of scientific understanding and deep spiritual insight, Dr. Llamba has spent decades helping people break patterns, access clarity, and step into their true personal power. In this episode, we explore creativity not just as a skill, but as an inner state shaped by awareness, healing, and agency. Her work sits right at the heart of this journey. As the year 2025 comes to an end, Dr. Llamba shares her perspectives and insights about what we can expect in 2026. Please watch the episode till the end where she reveals this. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ramon Llamba. Hello, Dr. Ramon. Welcome to the Creativity Dialogues podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. The field and the work you do is being featured on our podcast for the first time, so we're super excited.
Thank you so much, Chandana, for this warm welcome. And I'm as excited as you are. And I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Thank you. So we begin with the bridge between worlds. You hold a PhD in quantum physics, but work in spiritual healing and transformation. What was the pivotal moment when you realized these seemingly disparate fields could or must converge?
So at a very young age, I still remember 13, 14, I grew up with this whole excitement to explore this world that's beyond the material world. And I always had this deep instinct that ये जो हम दुनिया देखते हैं ना बहुत ही, it's really, really small, but there's got to be something beyond this. And studied in a convent school. There's so much about Christianity. So I read the Bible very, very early, and me being a core Sikh family, I also, like Guru Nanak Dev Ji as a kid was my favorite god, so I loved his teachings. And then in one of my journeys, suddenly I came across this mantra, Aham Brahmasmi, which simply meant that I am the creator of my reality. And this is what struck the chord, where I wanted to explore much more in this one mantra, that if we are the creators of our reality, then why is it that we are suffering like victims and we end up staying in a box? And then the soul searching started with a lot of questioning, and then I got married. But then at the age of 24, 25, I really understood one thing, that if I wanted to explore this world of spirituality and the soul, because the soul is spiritual by nature and it's pure conscious energy, then I had to explore the quantum world, because the quantum physics is the physics of the unseen reality. So very, very logically they marry. Both these subjects are very interrelated and correlated, because this entire question that where does my soul go after I die? When I'm not my body, who am I? Right? And the soul energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So there's got to be something more larger than what we can see, feel and touch, beyond our five senses. So this is the excitement that got me into understanding quantum physics, and very beautifully now understanding that world, that is the unseen raw potential energy that is manifesting as materialism. I marry science and spirituality, because what I really understood about this journey is this quantum field is a field of raw conscious energy. Our world which we live is a world of matter. So the whole game is transmuting matter to energy. Like from body we become soul, matter to energy, and then we also manifest Aham Brahmasmi, that from that raw energy how can I manifest matter. So this entire game of spirituality versus energy was where I started joining the dots, and this intrigued me into exploring the world of science and spirituality together.
Wonderful. I think you have already kind of answered, but science meets spirit. So could you explain quantum physics principles to someone experiencing emotional trauma? Could you share an example perhaps where understanding quantum mechanics actually helped someone?
So there are a lot of evidences, but let's start with the very basic equation. Einstein's equation E is equal to mc square, right? So what it really said was there is this world of mass and so this world of matter is mass and density, right? And E is equal to energy and m is equal to mass. So now when we want to actually transmute mass into energy, we have to really have light. So mc square is 2 times the speed of light. So if there's anything that can travel 2 times the speed of light, it transmutes matter back into energy. That was the whole formula, right? So when we understand the latest theories like the theory of entanglement, they have evidence that says that this is the human thought or the human consciousness that's the only thing that travels 2 times speed of light. So it is the power of our thoughts, the power of our thinking, our feeling, our vibrations that has the power to transmute any problem that is carrying mass and density back into energy, pure conscious energy. In fact, I've mentioned this very clearly in my book, Om is equal to mc square. So what I did was I replaced the E energy as Om, because only with the power of Om chanting, right, we produce a vibrational frequency that is so powerful that it can quantum tunnel through every block, every problem, every trauma, and actually take us to the other side of possibility. And so practicing this in the real term is, let's say when somebody comes to us with trauma. Now, what is trauma? Trauma is nothing but energy that's not in motion. In physics, we studied energy is meant to be in motion, and everything in the universe is energy. What is emotion? Energy in motion, emotion. And trauma is energy that did not go into motion. So all of the stuck emotions that got stagnated in our energy field inside of our body, they manifest as traumatic memories. Now, when, like for example, when I just sit down and chant the mantra Om, or I chant any other mantra, the vibrational frequency is so high of that particular mantra that it instantly starts putting the stuck energy back into motion, right? So when you actually see the fundamental theories of quantum physics and you very consciously and creatively apply them into the domain of therapy, a lot is possible in human psychology. And that's why now we are stepping into a paradigm of spiritual psychology. It's a proper subject that's being taught, because medical doctors look at the body as very matter. They only are healing the symptom, but they're not going to the root cause. But vibrations and Nikola Tesla said, if you want to master the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency and vibration. And when we are chanting our mantras, when we are spiritually aligned and meditating, we're actually inviting new cosmic energy to allow us to bypass the old traumatic memories. So that is where, there's a very fine line connection between both these subjects very deeply.
Right. On the basis, when you spoke about meditation, mantra chanting, a thought just came to mind that we've heard about this a lot. But if someone really wants to chant mantras, meditate, is there any way that one can do this by themselves? And if they are doing it, for also what would the time duration be? Because I get this very often that, even me and my friends, if we ever sit down and discuss chanting, one of the things that comes up is how long should I chant for it to, be the right amount of time spent?
See, Chandana, it's really important to recognize and go back to all our ancient wisdom, and all the time they always said we need a guru for us to give us the right process. Everything has a right process. Now, suddenly, like let's say I'm having a disease and I see a podcast and someone told me, oh, chant Om and my disease will go away, and I start chanting Om, that doesn't mean the disease will go away. No, there is got to be a proper context to it. So I'm a hardcore believer of having a guru to go through a process from the right strategy, right? So I think for me to, on a public platform, to just say do this mantra for so long would be wrong information, because rightly and they say when the student is ready, the master appears. And when mantra chanting is a journey, just not like you wake up one morning and start chanting a mantra and you're there. Right. It starts from somewhere and gets to somewhere. Even the mantras, the intensity gets intense, because even before we chant the mantra, right, it is not the sound of the mantra, it is the frequency behind it. For example, let's say I'm carrying a lot of, in my world, I call this kachra. Kachra means unprocessed memories, trauma, in my chakras. Now, I'm chanting the mantra Om, but my chakras or my energy centers are energy generators. Now, they are and I'm carrying a lot of pain, sadness. Let's say in my heart chakra, I'm carrying unforgiveness. I'm chanting Om, but the frequency of that is a lot of sadness, a lot of unforgiveness. So, the vibrational frequency of the Om is low. So before I even go into mantra chanting, I first have to go and clean the trauma, forgive everyone, purify my chakras, balance them, and then do so it's a process.
I'm so glad you said that, because we live in today's times where you're not feeling well, pop a pill. We so expect immediate results that it should just be something that I can just do. I'm so glad that you actually spoke about how everything is a process. You have to be ready. So just listening to something and just starting something is just not the way. Any topic which has depth, you can't approach it in that way. And I'm so glad that you said that you have got to be trained. You need a guru, you need a system, you need a process in order to do any kind of be it chanting, be it meditating. You have to be guided through it. If you're new, it's not wise to just start listening to something and trying to do it by yourself.
And in today's age where there's so much information available about every topic, the biggest gap I see with most of the people are like the information is lying in small pockets, like different pearls. Right? Now, every pearl is precious on its own, but if you want to integrate it, you have to tie it into a necklace to use it.
Yes.
Right? So, this is where a guru helps you, a coach, a mentor helps you. They help you tie the wisdom into something very usable that will give you a desired result.
Correct.
Number one. The second thing we really need to recognize about the power of sound, frequency, vibration, and chanting is even in the Big Bang, when the Big Bang happened, before light was sound. And sound created the explosion, and from sound came out light, right? So sound medicine, the power of vibration, the power of frequency and sound is the manifestor of everything from the beginning to the end.
So, Ramon, because you brought us to this point, or rather, it just emerged, I would say that what would be lovely is, a lot of people don't know what we mean or where we are going by, for example, the Big Bang or the origin of everything. If you could walk us through the stages, I think that'll help us in keeping the topic precise and in an organized way. Yeah. So I'd love to hear that from you, because I think...
So when you understand, in the beginning there was this, so I like to call this the spirit. Spirit is like a wide, vast ocean of white light, and everything is just pure consciousness, pure white. There's no distinction, there's no separation, there's no individualization. It's all one. And then suddenly...
So this is, we are talking before
Big Bang.
The Big Bang.
Yeah. And then the light says, let me now manifest myself into something for the purpose of co-creation. And then obviously this light, and this is just a metaphoric example I'm saying, let's say this light is 1,000-watt bulb. Okay? And it's all pure, it's consciousness, it's in its pure form. Now, for it to manifest as something low, it has to lower its resolution. So then the whole white light becomes dark, dense matter, right? Because in quantum physics or theories, the proving point is only from the time of Big Bang. What happened before the Big Bang, nobody knows.
Yes.
In science.
Yes.
But in our Vedas, they clearly have written that there was something that manifested as dark matter. The darkness came from the light. The light became the darkness.
Yeah.
Then the explosion happened. And when the explosion happened, light particles started coming out from that dark matter, right? And that light particle was consciousness, and it started manifesting as different forms and structures, right?
So the first, it began with a sound.
With sound.
I heard that it's Om, the sound of the universe.
The sound of the universe is Om, the frequency of Om, right?
Right.
And that it's the most primordial sound of the universe. Now, then from that point of creation happened everything that had came out: stones, water, minerals, and it started evolving higher and higher into the zero density, the first dimension, the second dimension, and finally after 84 lakh of yonis gone through, in the third dimension, that same form and structure.
Yonis, for those who may not know what that means.
It's evolution. It's evolution processes.
So cycles, you would
cycles,
say?
Yeah. 84 lakh cycles of evolution.
And this is where just what we would call the landscape was getting established.
Everything within plants.
So it did everything happen simultaneously? Like, would you say?
One species after the other and after. It's like it's a blueprint of a hierarchy, right? And then after 84 lakh of transitional evolutionary processes, we are born as a human being. That means before you were a human being, you've been there, done that. You've been every other thing that exists on the planet.
That's very interesting to know. That, which means I could have been a rock, a mountain, a plant, a snake.
Right? Now please understand, we are the only species that carry the 5 elements. Every mineral existing on the planet is inside us. We are made up of stardust. Do you know we carry the energy of the 9 planets and the 5 elements within our bodies? Ayurveda has evidence to it.
How?
Because the thumb rule of this evolution is so let me give you an example. Let's say I study first standard. Okay. Now after first standard, when I go into second standard, do I carry the wisdom of the first standard into second standard? Yes.
Yes.
Then I go into third standard. Do I carry the wisdom of the first, second into third, and so on and so forth? As we are moving on, we are carrying the wisdom and you would say the elementary blueprint of what we've been, the remembrance, right? So similarly, having been there, done that, now the human body, as it kept evolving, is made up of earth, it's made up of water, it's made up of fire, it's made up of air. So we are the 5 tattvas. put together. We've been all the planets and the stardust. So we're carrying all of those. Do you know the human DNA can produce 3 billion chemicals? So the most powerful species, after having gone through all of that, and we came here with the highest amount of intelligence and creativity. We are the only species, when you look at the human brain, what makes us different from other species is our neocortex, our intelligent brain. 80% of our brain mass is designed for intelligence, for creation, for co-creating with the universe. But the sad part is we lost the plot, we lost the game, and we ended up staying more in our animal instinct, in our reptilian brain, reacting to life, reacting to human beings. And this is where we spiritually started regressing rather than progressing.
So, what was the actual intent that from a human form, ideally, if all these human interruptions or if the human condition was not interrupting this flow, what would have been our ideal aspiration?
When you go back to Darwin's theory of evolution, the very fact of consciousness was just to evolve. Evolve, move on and on. And the funny thing is, in any of these 84 lakh yonis, we never got stuck. But the moment we embodied ourselves with the highest form of intelligence, the ego came in and we got caught in the karmic rebirthing cycle, and we are stuck here now ever since.
So is ego a quality? Is that what we could call a uniquely human quality? Do animals have egos?
No. So ego is something that was given to us for self-preservation, to coexist and co-create, right? And ego is the construct of the mind so that we could exist in society, in complex relationships, creating an individuality, right? But because of the trauma that we go through, the healthy ego gets wounded. And rather than behaving like a divine or like a human, we started being more animal-like. So all of the problems that are happening today between human beings and relationships is nothing but the byproduct of the wounded, unhealthy ego.
Thank you so much. That has been quite something to take in. You talk of the 4 tires philosophy. You speak of IQ, PQ, EQ and SQ as the 4 tires of life. Which tire do you find most people neglect? And why do you think that is in our current age?
When you understand the IQ, EQ, PQ and SQ, these are the 4 essential components of who we are. The IQ is our mind, intelligent quotient coming from our mind. Our EQ is our emotional body. Our SQ is our soul body, soul quotient, and our PQ is our physical body. And it's funny, people only relate to PQ and they're neglecting 75%. Look at our everyday activity, okay? We are eating to survive our physical body. We are having a bath to clean our physical body. We brush our teeth to clean our physical body. Everything, and we take action from our physical body, but we are not recognizing that our emotions, our thoughts coming from our mind, our intentions coming from our soul are driving our physical body, are meant to be driving. So 75% of us is neglected. We don't do anything to clean our mind and our thoughts. We don't do anything to clean our emotions. In fact, we are carrying so many emotional memories from 10 years, 20 years in the body and stagnating it. And soul SQ ko to bhuli jao na. Nobody's even bothered about the soul. That hai bhi ke nahi. So it's really important to recognize, if you want to live a whole and complete life, all the 4 tires have to be aligned. What does that look like? So let's say, for example, I want to manifest something. I want to create a new business. Now I am taking a lot of positive action. Now action is happening from my physical body, but my thoughts are negative. My actions are positive, but I'm having fear in my mind that I'm not going to be successful. Then my feelings are negative and my SQ is giving me negative energy. So there is a level of resistance that I want to move forward, but something is pulling me back. When I say pure alignment, it means my thoughts, my feelings, my intentions and my actions have to be aligned in the direction of my goals and dreams, of where I'm going in life. Forget about goals and dreams. Let's look at relationships. Okay, we love the person. So our feelings are positive, but all the time we are criticizing them, judging them, cooking negative stories about them, and then we end up making wrong actions. We get angry. But then we also say, my intention was not to hurt you, but you hurt them.
Yeah.
So it's all getting misaligned, and somewhere we are going wrong because our four quotient, the four tires of the vehicle of our life are all scattered, so we are just going wobbly everywhere.
Right.
So aligning them, processing them into an integrated process is the key.
You know, it's so amazing, all the wisdom that you share, that I feel the most, the question I think in all our minds is, where did all this wisdom, sort of get gathered and come together? So if we foray into your childhood, can you describe that journey for us? That how was your childhood? I think that it will help us all get to the root of how we all begin the journey, and from where do we start acquiring all the unwanted traumas, unhealed stuff that we carry. How did that begin for you?
So with all of the knowledge that I've accumulated about psychology and about the birth of the soul, the journey of every soul starts from the time we choose to come into this earth. Earth is like school. It is one of the highest, most tough universities to evolve the soul, because and that's why a lot of souls choose to come into this game, right? So in the soul's journey, I chose to be the third girl child to my mother, and that was a choice of the free will of the soul. And while I was growing up, I realized I was programmed to believe that I'm not wanted, nobody loves me, and there's something not okay about me. And where was this coming from? Because they say all of the thoughts, feeling and emotion that the mother is carrying when she is pregnant for the child is programmed into the cellular memory of the child. Do you know every cell in our body is like an individual human being? Because it's carrying so much intelligence, and 78% of our cells are programmed to carry memory. So the first message when my mother conceived me was, I want a boy, because she already had two girls. So that is the time where I start getting this message that, listen, you're going into earth, but you will not be accepted for who you are. And the programming started right then. And like I realized when I was 15, 16 years old, I was more of a boy in a woman's body. I hated me being a girl. I hated me being because the message I had got very early on in life is nobody's going to accept you being a girl, and we all want our parents' love, approval and acknowledgement. So now you become a people pleaser and you want to give them that version that they will acknowledge, right? But my soul chose to be a girl in this lifetime. So now I'm violating my own blueprint, and the trauma starts there. The childhood was, I would say my parents were lovely parents, but they had their own wounds. So a lot of anger, their fights would really every day, and they would argue. Today when I grew up, I feel like, okay, couples fight, but for a small child to go through that is a huge thing. Right after about 13 months of me being born, my brother was born. So suddenly now I don't exist.
The attention shifts.
So a product of complete childhood neglect, I would say. Not in the physical form. My physical needs were very met. My mother and father took care of our food, our clothes very beautifully. But I'm talking about emotional neglect, because we also have something called emotional survival needs. But one thing that really helped me in my spiritual journey was the childhood neglect. Because I remember as a child, I was so into myself. They say because when you're born connected to your soul, and because of your environmental conditioning, you get disconnected. Now, in my environment, there was nothing exciting for me to get disconnected to my soul. So that became a very big gift for me. I remember even at the age of 7 and 8, I was so connected to the divine in me, my soul. And I just grew up being connected, right? So in fact, there was one moment in my healing journey, I called up my mother and I actually thanked her. Thank you for neglecting me, because that gave me the essence of not moving away from my soul. Because a lot of psychologists say mostly children get disconnected from themselves because of interference of the environment, because the father and the mother want to do too much to the child.
Yeah.
So they actually end up distorting the reality.
Yeah.
My reality never got distorted spiritually,
Right.
but my emotional pains,
Yes.
my mental reality was totally like rejection, neglect. I'm not good enough, nobody's going to love me, I'm not beautiful, and blah blah blah. But again, like one of my gurus told me that if you want to master the mind, you've got to have a higher faculty than the mind, because you can't deal with the mind from the mind.
Right.
Right? So all of this programming and the trauma and the wounds were in my mind, but my soul was alive. I did not lock it up in a basement and disconnect. So that gave me the awareness at a very young age to start my healing journey. I was barely 21 when I started healing myself, understanding that this is not who I want to be, because I know there is a God inside me, but I got programmed to be an angry person. So there's a part of me that says, okay, treat everyone nicely, be good to everyone, there's karma coming back, but there's a part of me that's like animal,
Yeah.
wants to attack at the anybody triggering you and you want to attack them. So I realized I was a very angry person, and the anger was a programmed conditioning by my mother and father. They were both angry people, and they were very motivated, and they were very they were achievers. So I took all of it from them, but I also took their anger. And that's when every time I felt angry and fearful and sad, it didn't feel right for my soul. It felt like this is like a split personality, and I'm two people living in one body, you know. One part of me is saying, okay, listen, don't do this, and the other part just goes like a time bomb and gets bursted on people and hurting people. And that is when the journey started within, and it's been a 30-year long journey,
You know,
finding
it's
myself.
so wonderful the way that you described it, because I think the conflict that you're talking about is something that we all experience. You know, we all have this pure side, vulnerable side, and then we have all the external circumstances that come our way, and that this conflict becomes that how do I separate? You very beautifully said that your spirit, your soul in a certain way stayed protected because nobody invaded that space, and you were forced in an indirect way into that shell and remaining intact with it. But what I'd be really interested to know is, for your healing journey, did you take the entire responsibility of the healing yourself, or did your parents participate? But did they have that sense that some wrongdoing happened here, whether intentionally, unintentionally? Did they recognize that, identify that? Did you have that kind of closure from their side too?
When the journey started, and see, Chandana, I'm talking about the year 1994. Healing was, I mean, something that was not even in the front seat. We didn't even know that what happened to us was trauma.
Yes.
Right? But they say when the student is ready, the master appears. So I did not consciously go out to search healing. Healing came to me. And today I realize, maybe because in my soul's blueprint, my dharma was to be a healer. So you first have to heal if you want to be a healer. So life started training me 35 years back. And when my first mentor and coach, her name was Dr. Kajal Ghosh, and she just randomly happened to invade my life. I did not go looking for her, and we started talking about childhood, and that's when I realized, oh my God, is this what happened to me? Because, you know, you grew up thinking this is normal. So to answer your question, no, it was not my parents' involvement. However, the one thing I really understood was that if I really wanted my life to thrive and get results, I will have to go back to connect to my roots, my mother and my father. I realized in this journey of healing that my father is where the seed comes from, and I was sown into my mother's womb, and there was a huge disconnect. So there was a part of me that loved them, but there was a part of me that did not want to be with them because I didn't understand what I was carrying. There was some resistance, some barriers. And that was the first time I had the courage then to really, my relationship with my father, this is at the age of 26 I'm talking, right? I'm 26 years old and I realize I don't have a relationship with my father and nothing in my life is going to work. right? So now I have to muster up courage to at least talk to him. And they asked me to forgive my father, and I said, okay, I can forgive, but you got to go and talk to him. And like, I'm not going to do that, because 26 years of my life, like, I would see him coming from far, and I would take a U-turn and go and hide in the blanket. That was my relationship. But I remember even as a child, there was a small part of me that would all night and all day daydream that he's coming and hugging me. So that one hug I wanted from him. So my coach told me, if you want it, you'll have to go and get it. He's not going to come and give it to you. He doesn't know how to do it. So I remember at 26 calling him up one day, and it took me so much courage to just say, I love you. And he panicked because I was married then and he was in Bangalore. And he said, what happened? Are you happy? Are your in-laws okay? What happened suddenly?
Yeah.
And then we happened to meet, and I had realized I wanted to hug him, because every single night in my dreams and while sleeping, I would daydream he's hugging me and he's putting his hands on my head. And he had never even touched me. And I was craving for that. So I went, and when I met him, I just hugged him. He stood like a tree. He didn't know how to hug. And I told him, you're supposed to hug me. So he just touched me, and I told him, give me a tighter hug. It took him almost 10 minutes to even get to hug me. But the moment we hugged each other, he cried. And that day, for the first time, I heard his side of the story of how when he was small, they had to get uprooted from Pakistan and come back. And, they didn't even have food to eat. So for him, love was giving us food. That's it.
Yeah.
The emotional needs were not important. So the journey started there. So their involvement was not directly there, but every time I healed a wound with my mother or my father, I would come back and share it with them. So my mother was a very, very integrate part of my healing journey, because I would come, and not from a place of, sometimes I would even blame her, but then I realized it was not even their fault. They didn't know better. Today, when I look at my relationship with both of them, it is like a 10 on 10. Karmically, spiritually, psychologically, and physically, we are like totally complete. So very freely, I can openly share my wounds to my mother, and I tell her, like, this is what I saw in my healing. This is what I saw when I was 3 months old. You did this to me. And she'll just confirm it, but there's no blame. There's no anger there. There's a lot of forgiveness and unconditional love.
It's so amazing, you say that. I just recalled a story I'd heard on either some podcast or some platform. There was a program going on, and a person was asked, who have you forgiven in your life? And this guy just said, my parents. And for a minute, I just felt it very odd, because I just said, felt that generally we are supposed to feel that our parents are perfect, they're the best. And this guy just openly in the show says, I've forgiven my parents. And strangely, I was wondering how the audience would react. I thought that they would look a bit shocked. I was astonished to see that the audience was just nodding as if, yeah, that's a good thing that he is. So what you speak about is so true. We all have various wounds, packages of unresolved, ununderstood equations. And I do feel that parents are the very, very important base. We like to glorify, we are told to idolize, but I think that's why we carry a lot of wounds, because there's so much of a conflict, because there is always, together with the bad, there is a lot of so much of good too. And that's why there's so much of conflict. And I really appreciate your bringing this, because the childhood is the place where all of these wounds come in, from the time when we are the most vulnerable. And perhaps if there were none of these wounds, if wounds started to come in only later, we would be able to handle them far better and maybe not get so caught up. But when you're vulnerable, it's hard to make any sense of anything. And so I really appreciate your sharing this, because I think it has opened up the idea of how important healing is, and how much at the root and the beginning of the journey you need to go back to.
Yeah, and it's also really important to recognize we need to stop idealizing our parents and we need to humanize them.
Yes.
Because even they had their karmic script among them.
Yes.
And they had their childhood wounds and their memories and their patterns. They were product of their childhood environmental conditioning. But you know what the fun thing about this whole game is, Chandana? I think we choose this distortion. So we come whole and complete. And it's a setup. It's like a setup. It's like a script, okay? That the parents are going to break us, fragment us. Now we have to find ourselves back again. Game hai pura. And it can't be another way. So I think God planned this life like this, that I will, you know how I like to frame this? Like when we are born, we are like a piece of jigsaw puzzle. Let's say of 100 pieces, and we're all in the frame. Now our parents take those pieces and scatter us. Now the entire life, our game is to find our pieces back and integrate ourselves back and become whole and complete. Game hai, simple. So why even create so much drama out of it? उन्होंने पैदा किया, उन्होंने स्कैटर किया, ठीक है, अब हम अपने आप को इकट्ठा करते हैं ना. Because if this game was not there, then life would be boring. It'll be just like, okay, only manifesting, no drama, no trauma. So I think it adds color.
Wow. Yes. When this journey began for you, you said it started first with the healing process. How did this start to evolve more? And how did you actually reach the West to develop this journey, to understand more?
So, when I was healing my relationship with my mother, and so there was this very strong voice inside me that would not let me sleep, which always told me that I have to go and heal the world. I have to do something. So one of my gurus told me, this is your purpose, your dharma. But your dharma will only unfold when you heal your karma. Now, we don't have answers. And I'm talking about 26 years back. And that is when I read the book Many Life, Many Masters. And I was very intrigued, and I said, okay, now this is something what I would like to learn about past lives. And that's when Dr. Brian West came into the scene. What I realized about going to the West was they took our ancient wisdom and they packaged it so beautifully, logically, and sold it back to us. And by default, I was a very, very logical person. I needed answers for everything, and that kind of started exciting me, that now I want to go in for my healing to these masters, because they're feeding we also have a logical mind and we have a soul. The soul is wounded, but the entry towards the soul is through the mind. So till this mind is not fed, it keeps making all the noise, right, and gives you false narratives and false stories. So that is when I realized I wanted to, so the ancient wisdom was really, really integrated into my soul, the inner wisdom. But I wanted to have the science and the logic of it, and that's when my journey into the West started with masters like Dr. Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay. Then, because Louise Hay was a pioneer in emotional healing. She was the one who actually told us that our body can self-heal, and it is the emotional memories that create disease in the body. Right, the power of affirmations. So that was something that my soul knew already, and her science validated it for us. And then having trained with Joe Dispenza, because the energy centers he talks about, and how these energy centers then they contract our energy field and make us more matter, and we can't create more. So going to the West was like more about feeding my logical brain to come back to integrate it into my soul.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because a lot of people, come to the East to get this. And I feel it's so amazing that you have all of this, but you go to the West to kind of make some sense of it. And as you rightly mentioned, that I feel a lot of people struggle with our strong Desi principles. I mean, I can say the same, that in my life, I spent so many years here, and then when I got married and moved to the West, strangely, when my children were small and I would go to libraries with them, that's when all the books, be it on spirituality, yoga, Ayurveda, Indian culture, I actually learned that when I went abroad. That's why I feel a commonality in how sometimes it's so important that we travel, we go out. Sometimes what is meant to reach us comes in very, very unexpected ways. It's wisdom that we know, but we have to travel, we have to move to be able to access it the right way, in the right way for us.
See, I would like to also add here, transformation is about having a full brain experience. So when you understand the human brain, we have a left brain that's wired for logic, information, science, structure, analysis, reasoning. That's our left brain. Our right brain is all about the emotional brain, the experiential brain, and the brain of the world of energy. Now, when you want to transform, you have to have a full brain experience, the right and the left. So the right brain experiences were already there as an innate wisdom. So the Western knowledge fed my left brain. And when you find both, when they integrate together, the information goes into your cells and transforms. You have this full body, yes, kind of an experience that, wow, now I can change myself, or now I know the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. So it is our responsibility to actually give ourselves information, knowledge, and experiential learning. And that is when we can transform.
So beautifully put. Creativity as healing. In your work with breath work, ice baths, and somatic therapy, where does creativity enter the healing process? Can someone be truly transformed without accessing their creative potential?
So when you really understand healing, what we are referring to is healing the memories, the programs of our mind to go into our essence of who we really are. And we are our soul, right? So Dr. Robert Schwartz, in this therapy called internal family system, very rightly stated that he expressed the soul with 8 C's, like compassion, calmness, connectedness, curiosity, and one of the C's is creativity. So what I'm trying to tell you is, by default, our soul is creative by nature, right? Because when you understand the quantum field and this infinite knowledge, the quantum field is very, very creative and has infinite potential, right? But when we get programmed to be like very robotic and very structured, we hide our creativity because we want to fit into our parents' expectations or our environmental expectation. So we hide that creativity somewhere deep down in the alleys of our soul, and we become programmed robots. Now, to really go into our soul's essence, I personally feel creativity is one of the best ingredients one can embody, because then it gives you a whole new dimension to look at life. It gives you a whole new perspective. When you become creative, a purpose, a meaning, and then you don't have to just live life in a fixed way, because now you're finding creative ways of dealing with a fight. You're finding creative ways of dealing with a situation or a trauma. You're finding creative ways of, manifesting or not settling for less. So to answer your question, I think it's one of the top most, it's like salt when you're cooking a dish. Without creativity, everything is bland.
So beautifully put, yes. Trapped memories. You mentioned healing past traumas trapped in cellular memories. From a creative perspective, are our bodies storing not just pain, but also unexpressed creative impulses? What happens when we unlock these?
Like I said, the energy of the soul is very, very creative. It's potential, creative, infinite energy. And then a lot of trauma is like the kachra that comes over that essence. So in our soul's memory, we are also not only carrying the negative memories, but also what creativity is also a byproduct of everything we've learned as a child, the exposure that we've had, right? So when we start releasing these dense energies or these unprocessed memories, the true impulse of the flow of information, because our cells are always absorbing information from the field and from the inner knowingness. So, and with the help of this information, we are creating ideas, we are creating new strategies, new paradigms, or even new thoughts and feelings. So I personally feel when you heal these memories from our cellular structures, our cells start expressing their true potential, and creativity is at optimum. Like I realize when every time I go for a healing, in fact, my son was giving me this feedback that, Mama, every time you go for a retreat, from there you call us up and give us new ideas for thriving the business, right? Why don't you do that here? Now, just understand, because when you go in for healing, you're taking a pause from life and you are disconnected from the outer world. So automatically inside, the creativity starts thriving. You start getting so many ideas. And that's why they say, when you want to create new ideas, just take a pause from life, just go to nature.
Yes.
And you'll have lots of ideas coming up. So everything in the universe is connected. Our cells are connected to nature outside, to the quantum field outside. So when you give yourself that space after healing, I feel the divine impulses through your cells. It is the divine intelligence that is creative, that's coming, and it's giving you these ideas.
You describe being born clairvoyant. How does this intuitive knowing inform your creative approach to each client's unique journey? Is healing itself an act of co-creation?
So when you understand clairvoyance is the ability to see beyond what's existing or beyond what you can see with your physical eyes. Like I told you, when you understand the world of matter, it's, according to quantum physics, the world of matter is only 0.0000001%. That's driven by a world of potential energy that's 99.9999999%. So, like for example, if a client came to me and they are having a cancer, let me give you an example. Now, when they're looking at it very literally, it's cancer, what they can see. But behind the cancer, the unseen world, the non-physical world, is where my clairvoyants can go and actually guide them that your cancer, the root cause of your cancer is maybe because as a child, when you were in your mother's womb, so and thing happened, or maybe in your childhood this happened, and maybe you're rejecting your feminine essence, or you're rejecting your masculine essence, or maybe your relationship with your father is not okay. So it gives you the ability to look into their life in the world of energy. So my clairvoyance and my creative potential then allows me to go beyond the seen world to explore the raw material of that cancer. Why was this cancer created? What happened? What is the story behind it? So I personally feel that you cannot see life from what you can see. Like for example, they say life exists beyond your physical senses. So even what sounds we hear, there's so much more that exists. So your clairvoyant and clairaudient senses, when get activated, they are directly connected to your creative impulse that help you see so many other possibilities in one cancer, and that gives you access to healing. Right? Now when you go to a doctor, he might just say, okay, this is the reason, you just got a cancer, eat this medicine and treat it. But they are just kind of treating it from the surface. The creative impulse and the clairvoyance ability actually help you go to the root cause of where it started, and you can start healing it right from there. And there's like so many examples in my healing journey that I can give that are so unreal, but I would completely acknowledge my creative essence and my clairvoyance to all getting results there.
This makes me just think that do you end up getting impacted by your clients who come with a lot of their trauma, their issues, and in the process of healing, has it happened that their troubles have started to impact you in a certain way?
So this used to happen initially, but once I studied quantum physics and cymatics, I understood everything in the universe is frequency. So if I have not healed my wounds, I have not aligned my chakras, and if my auric bubble, my auric field is very weak and cracked or fractured, then see, energy is always interacting. Now you have your energy and my energy, and we're always interacting and interconnected. Now if I am in a very weak frequency and I am wounded myself, then if somebody, whoever is coming wounded in my space, because we are a frequency match, I end up absorbing their energy because I am space holding.
Correct.
Them.
Correct.
Then I paused my journey before becoming a healer for almost 8-9 years, and I first healed myself. So it's important as a healer, and today this is one of the biggest gaps. So many people are healing the world without healing themselves, and they're not recognizing that energy is constantly interacting. So you're literally getting their kachara back home into your energy field, and it's showing up as your disease mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So today, doing my sadhana, doing my meditation, I consciously work on having a very strong auric boundary, that in the space of the healer and the healy, like me and my person I'm healing, I am the person who's flowing energy, so I don't absorb, I don't take. So, when you're in the flow state, when you're giving state, then you cannot pull in their energy. Most of the healers, because they're so attached to healing, they end up magnetizing their wounds, people's wounds into their bodies. So it's really important for every healer or light worker or energy worker to have this distinction at first work on your energy field. We have this 15 months journey of training life coaches. But in the 15 months, 10 to 12 months, we only focus on their healing, and 3 months, we give you the know-how how to become a therapist and a healer. But the first 10 to 11 months, we only focus on your mental healing, karmic healing, emotional healing, and spiritual healing. So and the fun thing about this then is, there's a theory called entrainment. That if between two people, if there's one person vibrating at a higher frequency, then you can actually entrain the lower person's frequency into your field. So then practicing this principle, because I'm at a high frequency now, because I'm healed, now I change their frequency, and rather than me taking on their pain, I give them my frequency. Yes, I give them my frequency and uplift them.
Yeah, this is so important because, so many people claim to be on the spiritual journey. They go to retreats, they go to places, and they feel wonderful there. But then the minute you come back, then they're unable, they become the same kind of, the same behaviors persist. So I guess just like you're saying, that it's not about doing something but really healing. It's not that just going on something for a brief change, that the change has to be something which you've completely stepped away from, which you've healed.
Yes, and healing is a journey, it's a process, and it takes a lifetime. So people who've just done one retreat are feeling they've healed, that's maybe one layer. It's like peeling off the layers of the onion till you've reached a 0 point field, or the shunya state, that empty state. And that is where divinity comes in, your soul comes in. It's empty, it's raw. And healing is not about, so a lot of people also feel, okay, I'm spiritual, so I'm not going to get angry. No, it's not about not getting angry, but it's about being present to my anger, embracing it, and not using it to harm other people.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the whole thing about being spiritual. It's not about becoming a saint, because when you understand the human soul, we are the diabolic in nature. We are both the sinner and the saint. And the sinner and the saint are exchanging notes for them to come into integrated form, to become one in union, the darkness and the light. Right? So the spiritual journey or the healing journey is about first acknowledging who you are without judging yourself, or without even putting yourself in a box. Or then wearing a mask and pretending that, oh, I'm spiritual, so I don't get angry and I'm a saint. No, just be raw. In fact, the more raw you are, the more spiritual you are.
This makes me feel that this is an ongoing journey. So we say, we begin with our childhood traumas, healing those. But how about the traumas that continue to come, way into adulthood? So then the next phase, which are the next set of close relationships we form in terms of our partners, children, or the other part of our adult environment. There's so much of trauma which even comes. So how do we, navigate through this life journey? And I'd be really interested in knowing your next chapter. So the first part of healing happened with your parents, but how about the next chapters? Was it all just a smooth sailing thing from then onwards, or?
So it's important to recognize that our patterns, our behaviors, and our life is a byproduct of our childhood experiences, our fetal memories, the ones we picked up when we were in our mother's womb, and our karmic blueprint, right? So our childhood trauma, our parents are also part of our karmic blueprint, and then they give us this trauma. And once we start healing that, and we get married and we have children, now we also have a karmic contract with them. So everything that was incomplete in many lifetimes is showing up as something that's coming back to us. However, now when the karma is coming back to me, I am a byproduct of a programmed memory of my childhood. So I have my karmic remembrance plus my anger patterns plus my fear patterns or my insecurity patterns are coming. So then we end up creating more kachra in the relationship. So this journey is about integrating every individual relationship in your life that came to you, because I personally believe Earth is a school, and every relationship that is your inner circle, I'm talking about, not your friends and your outer circle, but your parents, your siblings, your spouse, your children, the real core inner circle, they are your karmic group souls, and you have something incomplete with them. So how I like to take this, as I started my journey with my mother and my father first, because that's where my journey starts. Okay. And then by that time, I really integrated my journey with them. I was wise enough to recognize that every person that is in my inner group circle has a karmic account with me. So then I started picking up one relationship per year, right? And healing that completely. By the time I was doing this, I had both my children, my husband, my mother-in-law, so many more added.
Yes.
And every time some drama would happen, I would say, okay, there's some karmic, there's some lessons I need to learn here. Right. So today when I look back, every single relationship was very consciously healed, and the flow of energy is very smooth between us. There's no give and take of extra negative energy. So it's every moment is an act of creation in the now moment. So what I invite people to do is look at healing as an objective, because we came here to heal our soul. That was the objective of life. Now everybody's doing everything else but doing the healing work. Yeah. So come back to yourself and ask yourself, like when you go to school, okay, you have 5 subjects: math, science, English, social studies, and let's say anything else, like history, okay? Yeah. Now, you are sure you're learning every subject separately and passing in every subject. Now, let's say you've passed in 4 subjects and failed in 1, you'll have to revisit the same class again. So your karmic group souls, these 6-7 people in your life, or sometimes it's only one person you're failing with, you will have to come back again, and it's not worth it. So sit with it. Sit and ask yourself, what is that one pattern that's really following this relationship again and again? What is it trying to teach me? Because every relationship is here to teach you a lesson. Every breakdown is a moment for breakthrough, to take your soul to a higher purpose. But the problem is we don't sit with it. We are so reactive with our patterns that yahan se problem aati hai, there we react and we go into a very, I call this gaji-buji space.
Yeah.
And we are creating more drama there. So pause, reflect. Why is this coming back to me? Because see, whatever you give out comes back to you, right? So if somebody is treating you a certain way, maybe you're giving it out. Now the second gap here, Chandana, is, like, I'll give you an example. Now, when I got married, I was very young, and you know, when you're young, I was already carrying these wounds of I'm not good enough, I will never be accepted. Now, the universe and people will treat you the way you treat yourself.
Yes.
Okay, it's a thumb rule. So this is called self-image. The way I see myself, people see me as that. So I always saw myself as not good enough. But I'm wearing this mask of a good enough girl because I want to prove. So I was this very, very good daughter-in-law. Like amazing daughter. I have to be this good girl. Now, but inside I'm always feeling I'm not good enough. Now, every time I experienced my mother, no matter how much good I did, I would experience criticism from her. I wanted appreciation. So one day, I sat down with myself and said, what is this karmic thing between us that no matter how much good I do, I'm never appreciated for what I do?
Yeah.
And suddenly the light went on, and I realized in my actions, I was doing everything nice. But in my thoughts and my feelings, I was always criticizing her in my mind.
Yes.
Right? I would judge her and I would say things in my mind, but on the face of it, I'm being a good daughter-in-law. Yeah. And suddenly I realized, if I really want appreciation from her, I have to give her appreciation from my soul. Yes. And I took this as an experiment. Only for 10 days, I truly stopped judging her, stopped wronging her in my mind, and I started appreciating her for the good. And right after the 10th day, she started appreciating me back. So everything is not karma. It could be my current thoughts and feelings that are creating my current reality as cause and effect. So the fun thing about the universe is it does not give you back what you're doing. It gives you back who you're being.
Yes.
So your thoughts and your feelings are creating your reality. I could be nice to you on your face, but inside if I'm thinking negative about you, you will give me back negative. So it's about being authentic.
Yes.
It's about being aware.
Yes.
Right? So the journey goes on, and you got to keep healing, because every time there's some kachra coming in a relationship, this is for you to clean, and you got to take responsibility that, okay, I don't care what other students are doing in the class, I want to pass this class.
And you know, when we say pass the class, or is there a way of knowing that this particular relationship has now been healed?
Yeah, because
and
then
also, does it require both the parties to feel that, or is it enough for one, the one who seeks it? That how do you know that this is healed now? Now this will never be an issue again. How does that recognition?
So, two answers to that. Number one, see, karma is like a salsa. It takes two. Right? The moment one heals and find their lesson, the other stops dancing with them, because the karma with them is over. So have you heard of this? When you change, they change.
Yes.
Right? They may not change at the core of it, but for you, they stop giving you, because they were only giving that to you to teach you a lesson. The moment you learn your lessons, they stop troubling you. Number one. Number two, you move past all of the programmed memories, the emotional addictions and everything, and the lens changes. You start seeing the divine in them and in yourself. And this relationship translates to a space of unconditional love and coexistence with peace and harmony.
Yeah.
And that is how you know, like, there's no tiff-taff going between us now, no triggers, nothing. And there's so much peace there. There's so much harmony there. And we start playing music together. Not like literal music, but the music of life. And that's how you know this relationship is healed. They no more are being a trigger for you. And that's, I think, enough evidence for us to recognize that, okay, this is a healed relationship now.
You emphasize that we are creators of our reality. But many people feel powerless in their circumstances. What's the first step in shifting from victim to creator consciousness?
So the first step is about recognizing that you are not your mind and you are a soul, a beautiful innate intelligence living in this body. So our mind is a very programmed device, and it is designed for self-preservation. So due to all the childhood trauma and the wear and tear that we've gone through, the mind gets programmed to believe that we are a victim. And we start functioning from there. And for us to be a victim, the first thing we have to do is we have to become powerless and give our power away to other people so that they can control us. And then we have to make someone wrong. That's how being a victim. Now, being a victim is more of an emotional addiction. So the first step for us to actually dive into the possibilities of our soul to become creators is to start believing in yourself, rather than giving your power away to other people. And that is what the healing journey does. See, this is not like an overnight journey that I decide I want to become the creator and I move out of the victim archetype and I become the creator. No.
Yeah.
It's about first taking responsibility that, okay, I realize I'm a victim to my circumstances, but there is some great power within me. So, see, when you start any spiritual practice, like let's say, for example, a mantra chanting, or you start just going to the mandir, there is some inner power that starts waking up. Right? Now, the victim is living in our mind, our soul is in our heart. So, like I said, one of my gurus told me you cannot deal with the mind from the mind, so you have to strengthen another bigger faculty. So the first step is start strengthening your soul and waking up your soul, and you have to reach a point where your soul becomes bigger than the mind.
How do you strengthen the soul?
By mantra chanting, by spiritual practices, by sitting in sadhana, by even just sitting in silence and breath, prana. You know, your breath is your doorway to your soul. So just consciously breathing directly goes into your soul and start. Your soul is like a muscle that got weak and your mind took over. Now your mind is making all this noise and making you feel powerless. Now you recognize that, see, I am not my mind. I am not the noise that my mind is giving me, because your mind only tells you you're not good enough, life is not safe, people are only going to harm you and all that.
Yeah.
Right? So now when you pause, right, and you find that empty space, you start going into your soul and start strengthening it. So today where I am, let's say my mind is giving me negative noise, my soul is strengthened enough to shut my mind out and say, shut up, I'm not listening to it anymore. So the first step is taking responsibility and going within, because everything is inside you, and strengthening your soul as a higher faculty than your mind, because that is where the power to create lies, in your soul, and that is where you are the Brahma of your reality. So go into your soul and strengthen it, and this is where spirituality comes in.
I think that, some of the problems that people are dealing with today, be it traumas or feelings of inadequacy, it's now, in our times, it's not even remained about our own individual trauma. But I think thanks to social media, technology, and just the way information keeps hitting us, I feel that we've even started to carry a lot of trauma of the collective. So we could be here and then wondering what's happening in Gaza or in different parts of the world. I personally know of people who are being impacted by the atrocities on humanity and just so many different circumstances that are happening. It's not even in their lives. I wonder, that is our overthinking mind always just wanting some complicated stimulus that it never wants to sit quiet. So even at times, if it's not about our traumas, do we seek or engage with other things that happen to people, and those things instill a sense of fear in us? And what I'm trying to get at with this is, how do we enable ourselves to reach a place where we don't engage with information in a way that it impacts us, it makes us vulnerable, fearful? Is there a way to...
So see, like the function of the heart is to pump blood, the function of the mind is to think, right? So you got to find another place to start living. We've started living so much in our minds, right? And every information that's coming is coming into our mind, and our energy is so consolidated within our mind that we are not looking at something else. And one thing about the mind is it only functions on memory and addiction. So we get emotionally addiction for fear. So if I don't have fear in my life, then I'm looking at some information that's happening in the world to feel fear, because it's an emotional addiction. When I recognize this, then I realize that my mind is not a safe space to live, but I'd rather go and find another beautiful place. Like, let's say, for example, okay, now you have a house, and the most busy part of your house is your kitchen. There's a lot of noise going on there, because there's lot being created there, the food and energy, whatever. Now, would you start living there, or then you just want some rest? You will go and isolate yourself in another room where there's more peace, there's silence, right? So when you're overstimulated with all of this information and you're feeling overwhelmed and tired, then that is when, with the power of your breathing, you can go to another room inside you, that is your body, that is housing your soul. We've stopped living inside our bodies. We are living so much in our head, and all our energy is like so consolidated here. So overthinking starts because there's so much energy there. And this is one of the major reasons, because our chakras are imbalanced. So we are not embodying all of the energy into every energy center, right? So my invitation to each one of us is to silence your mind. Your mind will never get silenced. Okay, so you have to find a way to check out of your mind, to check into another faculty within you. And the best faculty to live in is your soul. Find your soul. And that's exactly what I was saying when I was a child. Because of the childhood neglect, I never left that room of my soul. I was always there. So I really find it's a very safe space to be. And you're always connected to a divine force there.
You spoke about the chakras. I'd be interested in knowing a little bit about that. If you could just broadly give us a little bit of an idea of chakras, is there any way that we can actually experience them?
So when you understand the human being, remember I told you we are like 4 bodies: IQ, EQ, PQ and SQ. So we have a mind, mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, and physical body. Now, when we eat food, the food is processed by our organs in the physical body and digesting, right? So, similarly, we have our energy body, that is our mind and our emotions and our soul. So, our chakras are processing, our energy body is nothing but a field of information. Energy is information. So, our chakras or energy centers, in a very nutshell, are the organs of our emotional and mental and spiritual body. They process energy, they process information, that means all our unprocessed memories are stored in our chakras or our energy centers. So, in a nutshell, Chandana, if I had to answer what are chakras, number one, they are the organs of our energy body. Number two, they are energy generators. So, we are generating energy from these energy centers. And what is emotion? Emotion is that word energy in motion, right? So, that means they're generating our emotions, these chakras. So, they are a very core form of our inner world, our world of thoughts, feelings, our world of vibrations. So, having imbalanced chakras imbalances everything within our energy center.
Right. So, different areas also create different types of energy.
Or different types of emotions.
Or emotions, right.
Yes.
Right. So, right from our base chakra, root chakra, right till our topmost chakra.
Yes.
So, they go through all the different, like we have a throat chakra, which processes our sound. I guess that these are all the energy points, like you said.
Yeah, like if you example, all of our fear comes from our root chakra, right? And our root chakra is our first prime chakra, which comes from our father energy. It's connected to our father, our roots, because where does our seed come from? From my father's body, right? Our roots create our fruits, right? So the root chakra, when it's not balanced, it's creating insecurity and fear around three areas of our life: roti, kapda, or makan, physical survival needs. Our second chakra, sacral chakra, is where all our sadness and our emotional memories are trapped. Our third chakra, which is the solar plexus, the fire element, is generating a lot of anger, frustration, and irritation. All of that energy comes from here. And then all of the hurt and the resentment and the unforgiveness is trapped in our heart chakra. So, having said that, when these chakras get imbalanced, rather than feeling positive thoughts, positive feelings, we are constantly, our body is churning negative energy, negative emotions. Have you ever caught yourself sometimes feeling fear unnecessarily?
Yes.
कुछ हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, but life में सब ठीक चल रहा है, but वो अंदर से negative energy generate हो रही है. That is a sign of an imbalanced chakra. I'm always feeling angry about something, I'm always feeling sad about something, or I'm always feeling fearful or guilty. These are the four major emotions that are impacted in our four chakras, the lower four chakras, right? So when we start balancing them, we start thinking and feeling positive, because our thoughts and feelings are creating our vibrations, and our vibrations are coming back as our reality. So our chakras are the main vortexes of energy that are creating our energy.
You know, it's so lovely you say this. Just as you were speaking, I was thinking of what could be a counter to this. And I feel our tradition offers us the Navrasas, which is the 9 emotional states,
Yes.
which carry so many different dimensions of whether it's the Shringar Ras, whether it's the Hasya, the Raudra, Veer. And I just feel, how beautifully complex is this web of life, that we get to choose so many different aspects to it.
Absolutely. Your emotions are the colors of your life.
After all of this healing, which are perhaps some of the points that we missed or that escaped the whole thing? And right up to today, what are the areas which hold your fears, your unhealed or unknown aspects on this
So
journey?
when you understand your emotions, there are 4 prime emotions that a human being is addicted to: sadness, guilt and shame come into one category, anger and fear. And these are like auto-programmed thoughts and feelings that are coming inside us unnecessarily. So having healed myself in this journey, I realized I overcame my anger first. Before my anger was sadness. I was very emotionally addicted to sadness. And then sadness would lead to anger. Once I healed that was like really mastered it. fear was one emotion that took the longest time. And like I told you, remember that I was very fearful of my father, so I healed that. And then I realized the only area I would feel a lot of insecurity and fear was in the area of money. So, like we carry emotional wounds, we also carry psychological wounds and money wounds. And money wounds show up like, even if you're like born and brought up in a good, wealthy family, you're constantly fearing that money will go away, or it's not going to stay, or it's not going to come. And we're always putting negative energy around money. So if you ask me about even 6-7 years back, I was still living in that money wound state. But having done the deep self work, today when I actually close my eyes and see, rather than fear, there's complete faith in life, because the chakras are so well integrated and balanced that these emotions don't flow anymore. So there's a sense of safety, sense of security, that I will be taken care of. I live in a very friendly universe, and there is one papa up there taking care of me. So you come to that place of feeling very safe in life if you've done your chakra work and healed all your emotional wounds and your money wounds.
Frequency and resonance. You've said everything in this universe is energy, and we are frequency generators. How can someone tune their frequency when they feel stuck in a creative or life block?
So the first thing that we must recognize here is, when we are stuck in a situation, then we are tuning to that same frequency of where we are stuck in. And most of us are unaware that we are stuck here. So the first step for us to move out of that stuck or that resistance space is creating a level of awareness of how we see life. Most of us see, like I always tell, there are no good people and bad people on the planet. There are two categories of people: unaware people and aware people. So even before you start working on yourself, it's really important to first start creating and increasing your level of awareness. Have you ever seen that the moment you go into a spiritual practice, right, the first chakra they start working on is your third eye chakra. They say focus on your third eye and chant Om, because this is your inner eye. And this is your eye of awareness. So the first step is, I become aware that I'm stuck in this situation, because most of us, consciously we want a positive thing, but we are stuck in a negative vibration and we are attracting negative, and we don't even know, and we wonder, and we end up becoming the victims. So I would say the first step for us to create a resonant frequency to what we want to manifest is to create a level of awareness of what is my current location of my frequency right now. 99.9% of us don't even question this, and हम randomly जिंदगी जी रहे हैं, wanting to manifest by writing our gratitude journals, by doing everything, and nothing is working because I'm stuck हैं, and I'm aware ही नहीं I'm stuck हैं. See, the moment I become aware, I know how to raise my consciousness and my frequency. Every person knows it. So I would say give yourself the gift of awareness to understand, where am I stuck right now, and how do you know where we are stuck is what's coming back to you in your life. So let's say I'm asking for a lot of money, but a lot of guilt and fear around money is coming. That means I'm stuck in that frequency. So I have to become aware that whatever is coming back to me, abundance is not coming back to me. That means it's my frequency that's stuck. Yeah. So your life is like a mirror. They say, no, Jeevan ek darpan hai. It's reflecting to you what your frequency is. So start looking at what life is giving you to show you where you are stuck.
In quantum physics, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. How does this relate to human potential and the choices we make in creating our lives?
This mind-blowing experiment, the double slit experiment, that proved that, it is observation that collapses the wave function and creates a particle out of it. So in 2020, for the first time, these Australian physicists got the Nobel Prize Award for this theory of observation. It simply means that when I observe my reality with a certain thought and a feeling, I'm creating that reality out there. So if I want to change my reality, I have to change my observation to it. And this is where we become the creators, like Aham Brahmasmi. The moment I change my expectations of my reality starts shifting. Every particle, every molecule, every wave function collapses from there and becomes another new wave based on how I'm observing. Like, for example, let me give you in relationships. Now, let's say I'm having a challenging relationship with my spouse. So by default, I start observing him. Oh my God, he's so stuck. He's very angry. He's always upset. And I start observing him, right? Now, the more I observe him like that, the more he has to show up how I am observing him. Now, if I understand this theory, fundamental theory of superposition, I realize there is another version of him that is loving, kind, and gentle and very compassionate. Now, the reality is he's angry with me, but in my mind, I know that there was one time when he's also loving. There is potential energy in him to be loving. So in my mind, I start observing him in the empty field of consciousness, like he's very loving, he's very kind, and he's very gentle. And slowly, I start shifting his energy into that version of him. And in just a few moments, he will start showing up as that. There's so much research on this, Chandana, and evidence that reality only exists in the mind of the observer. I'll give you a small example, a real life example, okay? So one day morning, I've lived my life with observation. And you know what? It's important you realize in this example that I'm giving you that somebody observing me the way they want me to be, I will have to show up. That's how observation works. So one day what happened, I woke up this morning and my yoga coach was coming home, and I woke up with this very creative impulse that today I'm going to do 108 Surya Namaskar. Right? And I know I had that energy to do it. So my yoga started and I told my sir, मेरे को ना आज 108 Surya Namaskar करने हैं. The first thing he said is, आप कर ही नहीं सकते हो, आप कर नहीं पाओगे, तो नहीं करते हैं. I said, sir, no, I want to do it today. He said, चलो देखते हैं, करो. Now, I started doing my Surya Namaskar, but I knew he was observing me कि ये नहीं कर सकती. She can't do it. So by the 10th or the 11th Surya Namaskar, my energy started draining and I started giving up. Now, keeping this in mind, I realized, instantly became aware, there is an observer observing me that I can't do it, so my energy is getting depleted. So I wanted to do an experiment. I told him, sir, आप एक काम करो, do one thing. For 15 minutes, just go out. He said, क्या हुआ? I said, no, I have some work. For 15 to 20 minutes, just go out of the room. You wait down, I'll call you after 20 minutes. You won't believe it, Chandana. He went. I just took a deep breath, gathered my courage, came into my power, and I did my 108 Surya Namaskar because there was nobody observing me.
So
That
we are
is the power.
impacted by others' energies, their expectations, their
Every moment, either you are observing reality and it's manifesting, or they are observing you. Now, the fun thing is, if you're aware of this, then you can observe the observer and outcreate the observation, and you become the creator. And this is where consciousness and awareness plays a key role.
Yes.
Now, if you are observing me as, oh, Ramon is such a stuck person. Now, if I'm unaware, then I will have to show up as a stuck person.
Yes.
But if I become aware, then I have a choice either to be a stuck person or outcreate your observation.
Yes.
And focus on how I observe myself as a compassionate person.
Yes.
Is this making sense?
Totally.
And it's really powerful. This is
It's
where
so powerful.
the power of human consciousness lies.
Yes.
And this is where we must focus on,
Yes.
the power of our observation.
This is so powerful, actually, because it totally can shift us from a victim mentality into just the sense of feeling empowered, because we always have the power to either show up as a victim or to just go with what somebody else. I think that the bigger issue with what you say is about how we process ourselves and whether we feel that we are worthy, we are strong. Because sometimes, as already throughout this discussion, as you've been continuously pointing out, that there will be triggers. Somebody who triggers something which connects either with fear, with a sense of inadequacy, there will constantly be triggers. Is awareness enough? Or how do we convert that awareness without a sense of power? those who have that sense of power, wisdom, those who have cleared everything, for them it becomes something doable. But I'm just thinking as we speak that if someone only uses awareness for they will be able to identify, but does that mean that they would actually be able to overpower a conflicting, a contrasting energy which is coming?
See, awareness is just one of the key ingredients. Along with awareness comes self-image and self-belief. The problem is, even aware people don't believe in themselves. We will believe in stones, in rocks, in ghosts, in other people. Like if I came and told you, Chandana, you are a tomato, you might end up believing me. But you will not for a moment pause and say, oh my God, she is lying. I know I'm not a tomato. Right? So we start wronging ourselves.
And that's why astrologers and wearing all kinds of stones I know of people, I mean, for that matter, my own father once changed the entrance of our house because some astrologer predicted, nahi ye theek nahi hai. Your entrance is the reason for all your problems. We changed our complete entrance, nothing changed. So, I mean, I just wonder.
So there are two aspects to this, Chandana. Astrology and Vastu are a science that only exist on the 3D world. But beyond that is human consciousness. Because the most powerful thing that can impact observation or the particles and wave duality is human consciousness, the light that we produce. Photon. See, every moment when we are observing through thought, feeling, intention and seeing, we are actually producing particles of light. Do you know the latest theory in observation also has proven that we are emitting particles of light constantly through our hands and our seeing and thinking and feeling, right? Now, when I don't use the power of my consciousness and believe in myself, then these small things impact my life, the entrance and the planetary positions. So then I have to believe in stones. But I'm saying, let's believe in a higher power that's running through us. Like the electricity of the entire universe is the divine electricity, and it's flowing through us in every single moment of our breath. And when this electricity is flowing through us, actually the divine is living in us. Why would we not believe in ourselves? So awareness is just one thing, self-belief, self-image. How I am observing myself, I am not going to allow others to observe me like that.
As you just spoke about dimensions now, as we come towards our concluding the end of the podcast, I'm very curious in knowing these different dimensions that you talk about. So if somebody has no idea of these dimensions, like you spoke about the third dimension, could you quickly give us an idea of what these dimensions are? What do we mean, when we say first, second, third dimension?
So dimensions are nothing but levels of consciousness, and after the Big Bang, everything started from the 0 point field into the first dimension. Like when you see even today, the first dimension is everything under the earth, like water and all the minerals and the gold and the silver and everything that's lying there. Then comes the second dimension, that's above earth, that's the plants, the creepy crawly creatures, they're the 2D beings. Now everything 3D life starts with the four-legged animals and the human beings, the 3D third world, right? And evolution started from the first dimension, and we are heading, see, when you understand consciousness, it's always moving upward, right? So everything is evolving. So currently, we started life at 3D as human beings, but currently Mother Earth has transited from 3D to the fifth dimension, to fourth dimension and fifth dimension. The physical world is made up of 7 dimensions, and then the non-physical world exists in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th dimensions, right? That's a non-physical world. So where you go after you pass on is into the non-physical world, right? So there are levels of consciousness. It's like a building that has 12 floors, and the floor that we live in, or the level of consciousness that I am in, the dimension it defines my reality, right? So currently, with all this chaos going on the planet, it's important we recognize that Mother Earth, dimensions are also levels of frequencies. 20 years back, we were vibrating, Mother Earth was vibrating in the 3D dimension. It's a whole yuga change. Now currently, she's moved to the 5th dimension, and this cycle of evolution happens after a cycle of 26,000 years, the dimensional change. right? And now it's a mandate for every human being to raise their consciousness from 3D dimensional frequency to the fifth dimension. But for that, we have to let go of density. Density means the past traumas, unforgiveness, heal your karma. The first step for us to move, like your visa to the fifth dimension, you'll only get when you've let go of all your past karmas. And that's why healing has become a mandate in the current. Do you see suddenly everybody's getting spiritual, everybody wants to heal. What is happening? It is a yoga change.
Yeah.
And this will not get finalized till all of humanity doesn't heal. The transition will not happen. So as light workers, for us, like for me, I will call this as an emergency right now, because we want to heal as many people and take them to the 5D consciousness, because humanity can move there and the suffering can end. The wars that are happening, the natural calamities that are happening, like this year, the last year, 2025, we've seen a lot of fire incidents happening, a lot of old burning.
Yes.
And churning. So many people are emotionally churning because the old has to end for the new to begin. So,
that's wonderful. I was just coming to what your predictions will be. Are we on the edge? Right? We are now right at the end, the tip of 2025, and we're just entering into 2026. So what do you have, any vision, any sense of what we will be looking at in this new upcoming year?
So there's going to be a contrast of energies in the new year. Because obviously if you see the total of 2026, it's number 1, right? It's new beginnings. So this year was a 9-year cycle, number 9, old endings. So for every person who's worked on their karmic blueprint, who's forgiven, who's worked on their chakras and balanced them and rooted and grounded themselves, for them it's going to be a year of infinite opportunities, growth. It's like a new beginning. Right? So in a very nutshell, I could say this year is like a reset and a reboot button. Everything is going to come back to ground zero. Economy, government structures, money, the way money and currency is, everything is going to come back to ground zero and restart again. But for that to happen, humanity will every individual will have to wake up to their purpose and their karma cleansing. So the coming year, like I said, is going to be a year of possibilities and opportunities for those people who've done the work, and for the people who've really not even started, right? There's a lot of people who are still unaware, they've not even started their healing journey. Their burning and churning will start. So what we will see is a total contrast of 2 earths, 5D earth and 3D earth. Like the timelines have split totally. And in the same timeline, you'll see somebody thriving and somebody healing. Like we've already, like for me at least, I can see, like, the parallel universe theory states that they're parallel timelines. So there'll be many human beings in one timeline in the 5th dimension who are thriving, creating new opportunities, new beginnings, new things starting. And then there's going to be one timeline parallelly existing where a lot of people are waking up and they'll begin their healing journey. But I'm seeing in the next 2 decades or 3 decades, all of humanity will start moving towards more of the new dimension, because the 5th dimension is a dimension of oneness. It's a dimension of compassion and spirituality. Every human being will find their worth. Every human being will start seeing that I see the divine in me and I see the divine in you. So we are heading towards a good time if we as a collective allow that to happen.
Thank you so much, Ramon. This is such a wonderful note to end our conversation, which actually feels that it could just keep going. Thank you so much for sharing so much of wisdom, insights, and really touching upon the things very precisely that hold us back, and just showing us how different it could be if we really just take responsibility and become aware of our own beings.
Thank you so much, Chandana, for actually facilitating this, and I think I really had fun doing this.
Thanks a lot, Ramon, and I look forward to some more such conversations.
Great.